Hello everyone, it's me Rizo2612, and today I am going to be doing a director's commentary on the Free For Heroes vs. Villains War Tournament Round 2. Um, just to clarify a few things, the reasons that I haven't been doing a lot on YouTube is because the reason that I hadn't been on YouTube that much recently was because I had to deal with college and I had to deal with real life stuff and everything, and I recently uploaded a college project onto YouTube like 3 days before I uploaded round 2 of the Free For Heroes vs. Villains War Tournament. And yeah, so if you're interested to check out my college project, there's a link in the description down below into what my college project is and all that stuff, and yeah. So anyways, and I'll also just want to confirm a few things, that from now on, whenever I upload a round of the Free For Heroes vs. Villains War Tournament, there is going to be a director's commentary as the next video after the round gets uploaded onto YouTube. But as for like some of the rounds that ends up getting the split into either 3 parts or into 4 parts or 5 parts, they would have to wait until I upload all of the parts that would require that the round is up to like either 3 parts or 5 parts, because then that way I'll be able to do a full-length director's commentary throughout those parts to explain the story a bit more and all that stuff. So yeah, so that is going to be my main basic rule about one of my main basic rules of doing stuff for the Free For Heroes vs. Villains War Tournament. So yeah, without further ado, let's just kick off round 2. So we start off round 2 with the prologue, and the first prologue scene is with Judge Claude Frollo forming an alliance with Captain Hook and Sarouche. Originally it was going to be a round 1 epilogue scene, but due to time's sake, I had to push it to the round 2 prologue instead. And here is the form of the Royal Council with King Stefan, King Hubert, the Sultan, King Acorn, Prince Philip, and King James, which was which is something that I've been thinking of doing for some time. And plus I thought of using King James in this, because I would recommend CK Primal 7 and AC McKillioface to use King James in their own versions of the Royal Council in their own Heroes vs. Villains series and all that. So yeah. Next up, Robin, Raven, Beast Boy, Cyborg, and Starfire prepare themselves for the upcoming battles. And Jafar assigns Loki to his target, which is to invade Equestria. And yeah. Not a lot to be said here, but although I really am impressed with how well the prologue turned out. Next up is, the first fight is Aladdin versus Bowser. To be honest, I don't really seem to be that hugely impressed with this fight, although I will mostly say I am like 50% impressed with this. But not only just that the music fits well with this fight, but also I felt like it could have had a bit more to it, not just Bowser invading Agrabah and then just captured Jasmine for his alliance and all that. Like, I felt like Aladdin and the Genie and all the others could have do a bit more in the fight. So yeah. Next up is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs versus Amora the Enchantress. This fight was made to introduce Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and also to have the Evil Queen test out Amora's skills in the battle and such. And yeah. And if you're confused by that, no, Amora didn't kill off Snow White. She just knocked her out and all that. And yeah. Next up is one of my favorite fights of the round: Phoebus and Esmeralda versus Captain Hook. And not a lot to say here, but although the fight takes place after Frollo recruits Sarouche and Hook into his fraction. And yeah, this is also one of the original fights in the original version of round 2 of the original version of this series. Back in the day when back in the day when the series at first lasted for 4 rounds and all that stuff. So yeah. And yeah. And here is my all-time favorite fight to this round: Twilight Sparkle and Friends versus Loki and the Frost Giants. I had been dying to make this fight the most, mostly because I've always wanted to feature my one of my favorite TV shows in the series, which is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and I figured that if I were to give them a huge role, then why not? So yeah. And I thought of an idea of what if they all fought against Loki and the Frost Giants, and the fight turned out really super well. And yeah. Really impressed with the editing part right there, and yeah. And this bit too. And I really absolutely love the way how Twilight and her friends managed to take down the Frost Giants and all that. And yeah, and it may be the last time we will ever get to see the Frost Giants, or they might return at some point. But we'll just have to wait and see if they will return at some point in the series. Who knows? And anyway, Loki comes in to finish off the invasion himself. And it's up to Twilight, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, Pinkie Pie, Applejack, and Fluttershy to defeat him. Really love how well edited this fight turned out. Next up is 26 and Friends versus Shere Khan. And note, this was one of the original fights back from the original version of this series. But I decided to do a remake on this fight by making this fight a bit longer and try and use some good footage of Shere Khan from the Jungle Book and combining it from the first Jungle Book movie. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how well it turned out. And yeah, pretty pleased with how well the fight turned out. although it was kind of short, but apparently 26 and her friends, they don't do like that much fighting, I don't think, in Dinotopia Quest for the Ruby Sunstone, but oh well. Anyway, moving up to the next fight, which is Jenny Wakeman XJ9 versus Dr. Draken. Ever since I've watched the first 3 episodes of My Life as a Teenager Robot, I knew I had to introduce Jenny at some point in the series. Although that I don't have much of a huge opinion about the show, but although I think My Life as a Teenager Robot so far, I think it's a good show from what I've seen. And and I couldn't think of an opponent for Jenny at the time and all that stuff, and so I thought maybe having her face against Draken would be a good idea. And the fight turned out pretty well and all that, so yeah. And yeah, very impressive how well the fight turned out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and no, Draken is not like dead or anything. You will see him again later on in the future of the series and all that. So yeah, and Dr. Wakeman, I believe that's her name, yeah, has been watching the fight, and she was impressed of how Jenny defeated Draken and everything. And here is the last fight to the round, Miguel and Tulio versus Sleet and Dingo. And this fight was one of the original fights back for, I believe, on the original version of round 4, but except the editing throughout the rest of the fight looks the same, but except the opening had to be altered to make it look like it's Dr. Robotnik who hired Sleet and Dingo to capture Miguel and Tulio, because in the original version it was Snively who did and all that, so yeah. But don't worry, Snively will show up like at some point, so yeah. And I love the way how the music fits well with this little chase with the squat bots and Miguel and Tulio right here. They're kind of entertaining, those two. And also, this fight was inspired by the Governor Ratcliffe versus Miguel and Tulio fight from Secret Combat 7's Heroes vs. Villains series, which was one of the main reasons why I wanted to introduce Miguel and Tulio to the series. And here's Dr. Robotnik, who plans to keep them as prisoners, and here's Snively, who's like just supporting Robotnik in his plans. And now we have the epilogue, where the evil queen and more of the Enchantress inform Loki that they send over an unconscious Snow White to him and his allies. And Loki's impressed with the progress of how well they are doing in their plans. Next up, Judge Claude Frollo is displeased with Captain Hook's failure of capturing Esmeralda, and Hook suggests that they better focus on other plans in the meantime to lay low profile until when the time comes to capture Esmeralda properly. in the Forbidden Mountains, we have Princess Jasmine and Snow White as the first princesses to be captured, and Doctor Doom locks them up in the dungeon. Meanwhile, Aladdin meets up with Prince Philip as they both agree to form an alliance. And while Aladdin's out on his quest, Jafar successfully rules over Agrabah, and he finds an interesting discovery. Next up, Mario, Luigi, Sonic, and Tails form an alliance with Twilight Sparkle and her friends, as they are officially part of their alliance, which is something that I've been wanting to do for some time, and all that, so, And to be honest, I like the idea of all of them in a great team for some reason. Meanwhile, the Joker and the Green Goblin recruits the Riddler from the Batman to be part of their criminal empire. In the original version, I originally had used the Batman the Animated Series version of the Riddler, but for this version, I've decided to use the Batman version of Riddler because I'm pretty fond of the Batman version of Riddler a bit more. But I still like Batman the Animated Series version of Riddler though. And here we have Kim Possible teaming up with the Teen Titans. But they're all unaware that a certain billionaire sees them as a threat. And that is my commentary for round 2. Round 3 will be officially coming out soon. And as soon as round 3 comes out, I'll be trying to take a little break on working on the series for a bit, because I'm going to need some extra time to develop some plans for round 4 and future rounds and such. And yeah, so yep, anyway, this is Rizo2612 signing out.